Okay, hello everybody, this is Rachel Bromnick and today we're talking jobs with Dr. Roger Bretherton. So welcome, Roger.
Hello Rachel, pleased to be here.
Oh, it's so great that you're helping us out with this project. So why don't we just start, Roger, just introduce yourself to the audience and just say a little bit about your background.
Sure.
Interesting career that you've had.
I suppose I've had a very atypical career, you could say.
Okay.
So I was a clinical psychologist for 10 years
Wow.
in the NHS, working at the kind of real rough end, if you like, the sharp end of mental health services with people with personality disorders, or at least that's how they were diagnosed. Largely people who've been through very traumatic experiences, really. And then joined the University of Lincoln 11 years ago.
Oh,
It is
really?
now, yeah,
Wow.
nearly 12 years ago. And then in recent years, I've largely been studying what some people would call character strengths, which are the positive qualities of character that make life worth living, if you like. So I kind of moved from the question
Stress.
of what's wrong with you
to
what's
right.
great about
Okay.
you, what's right. Yeah.
Oh, well, first of all, your work with the NHS, so important.
Yeah.
I know you do great work with our students as well. So this series of talks is about following your passion. So we're going to ask Roger some sort of questions and see where that goes. So Roger, just to start with, what do psychologists actually mean by passion?
But believe it or not, there is actually quite an extensive literature on passion.
Okay.
So particularly there's a guy, a French-Canadian guy called Roger Bretherton, who's done a lot of work on what is passion, what do we call passion. And what he's talking about when he talks about passion is he's talking about something that's really important to us. We are willing to kind of pay a cost in terms of effort, time, expense, money, etc. in order to pursue it. It generally takes some time, so generally it takes some training, some expertise. We'll have to develop something if we're passionate about it, and that usually if we're passionate about something, we tend to identify ourselves with it quite strongly. So someone who's a very passionate football player is a football player, or a passionate psychologist.
I'm an Arsenal fan.
Would be a. Are you an Arsenal fan?
I'm an Arsenal fan.
My eldest son's an Arsenal fan, so I didn't know that. Yep. So
it's passion in a sort of different way to say. We might think of it in a romantic kind of way.
Yes. So in this sense, passion would be close to something like desire, ambition, something we care about deeply. So it has some romance to it. That is there. So there is some imagination. But it's more than that as well. It's the thing we want to throw our life into.
So this series of talks is about following your passion. I want to ask you now, is it always good to be like 100% total passionate person?
Yeah, that's a great...
Sort of drawbacks?
Yeah, well, there's sort of two distinctions that come out in the literature. One of them is about, and this is quite close to the question about romance, really. One of them is... generally speaking, it seems people who do well, who are happy with what they do, for example, tend to not have an intensity of passion, but a consistency of passion.
Oh.
So they're not necessarily kind of pants on fire, chasing after it, but they have a general sense of, I just really enjoy doing this. Right. This is something I kind of really love. Whereas intensity and passion tends to come and then fade away. And then the second distinction that I find really helpful is the idea that we can have obsessive passion, which is kind of when you throw everything into something and you pursue just that one thing. It's like putting all your eggs in one basket. And generally speaking, you can accomplish a lot that way, but it tends not to be that healthy for people in terms of it tends to burn out. It's obsessive, it gets stuck. Whereas our friend Roger Bretherton, who we're talking about, he says the best kind of passion to have is what he calls harmonious passion, which means I really love this thing, I give my time to it, I'm really enjoying it, but there's lots of other things that matter to me as well. There's friends, there's family, there's social time, there's fun, there's rest, so all those kind of other things are important as well.
Because what's coming into my mind is some of the psychology from William James.
Yeah.
Because he would encourage people to follow their passion, but in a simple way of summarising his message, it's also about, I think, knowing when you have to kind of change your plans, maybe.
That's right.
Or
Well, I think following your passion, it changes and shifts, doesn't it? As time goes on. So I think something that seems bang on the money, this is what I love and this is what I always want to do, in 3-4 years' time, maybe no, that there was something in here I was attracted to that was important, but actually there's more to that. So for me, that's what...
Yeah, because you moved from clinical psychology. That was a passion, I presume.
Yeah, so I passionately wanted to be a clinical psychologist, and then once I'd kind of been in that and worked on it, I discovered, there was something there I really loved and was involved, but it came under a bigger umbrella for me, which was sort of caring for people, helping people, and in a sense what I'm doing at the university just feels like an extension of the same thing, really.
So how would somebody know that they're following their passion?
Great question. This kind of crosses into some of the psychology that I think you like quite a bit, Rach, in terms of... so there's great work done by people like Ken Sheldon, who they've looked at to what extent are the things you're pursuing, concurrent with who you are. In other words, to what extent is this really about you? So if you're set an essay, to what extent are you just doing that because someone's told you to do it and you've got to, versus to what extent do you do that at least partially for yourself?
Right, okay.
And what they argue is, they say that you kind of know that you're following your passion. I always view this as like a radar that goes off in life to let you know where you should be going. Is that, generally speaking, if you find that there's something in it really deeply for you, so it might be helping other people, there's some deep there's some deeply held self goals in it, then generally what happens is you tend to work harder, you tend to achieve more, ultimately, you tend to have a greater sense of satisfaction at the end of the day, and that all of that put together leads to a sense of well-being, so leads to a sense of positive emotion and satisfaction. And then the interesting thing when they do all the analysis is, if you go right back to the start, the thing that most dictates whether you have that sense of well-being at the end is whether you feel that your heart's really in it. You've chosen it. So for students, it's things like, think about which bits of modules or which activities you've really thought, I really enjoy this. And that's a little signal that says your passion is somewhere in this area. It's like a little radar that goes off. This is where your passion is. And generally speaking, if you get good at spotting that and you choose to do more things like that, then you get better and better and better at actually choosing those kind of goals. It sort of builds on itself.
I mean, I think for people as well, I would always say, put yourself in different environments. Do some volunteering, get out and about, because I think if you just sit in a room and think, what is my passion? What career do I want? What am I doing? Those sort of existential questions, just inside a room, you'll never get there.
That's right.
I don't know if I told you this story, Roger, because I worked a lot of summers on play schemes and summer holidays and camps and things for kids. And I thought I was following my passion for working with children, which was, something that I genuinely held. But one thing that really sticks in my mind is an event I organised on a summer camp, which was like a mini Olympics, and we had all different youth clubs coming together to compete, and I put together the event. It was massive. I had to organise coaches and health and safety and manage other people other leaders who were going to be organising certain activities, and I absolutely loved it. And at the end of the day I thought, maybe my passion isn't working with children, because I really, really enjoy event management. I really enjoy logistics.
And you do that all the time, don't you? Every time I work with you, you're like organising some kind of thing, and it's like you really buzz off that stuff in a way that I don't, for example. It's just
some people
it's not my passion.
But I think it's sort of... It wasn't until I was in an environment that set me that challenge that I realised that I had a passion and an aptitude. I could do it,
Yeah, I totally agree. So you've got to have a broad experience of lots of things. And I think if people just get very narrow-minded on do my exams, get my qualification, etc., they really miss out on, but where was good here? What have you learned?
All right, Rog. How do you think then, you talked about people's strengths and talents, so bringing it all together, how do you think our passion relates to our sort of strengths and talents?
So when you read the positive psychology literature, one of the things that comes out really, really strongly in the whole thing is that we are happiest we're most engaged, we have best relationships. In other words, we live a kind of full, flourishing, passionate life when we've basically identified and aware of what am I good at and how can I use that more. So we're thinking in a really kind, curious way. You're thinking, I love organising events, all the kind of stuff that's involved in that. How can I apply that in all kinds of different directions that gives you a sense of satisfaction and then also benefits a heck of a lot of people? Think of all the hundreds of people who've benefited from Rachel Bromnick.
Oh, thank you.
Possibly thousands of people. How what event have you organised? What context did you create that allowed people to do that? But for some people, I know you're speaking to Maddie about writing, aren't you? So for her passion would have been writing. That's quite close to where I am. My actual real passion, I think, is presenting stuff.
Right.
So I love designing
the show off in you.
PowerPoint presentations, communicating ideas really elegantly. I sometimes feel a little bit embarrassed about that, but that's kind of that's sort of the thing that really, really just gets me going and leaves
and
me
you do it
feeling
very
happy.
well.
Yeah, and I just enjoy it.
All right. So just to sort of round up this introduction to Find Your Passion, have you got any just final concluding tips or ideas or just sort of comments to make, to our student listeners?
Well, there's a lovely quote that Brené Brown sometimes uses, famous sort of writer, sociologist, and just off the top of my head, I've lost track of who exactly said it, but she quotes this quote, and she says, the best thing you can do for the world is find out what your passion is and pursue it, because that's what the world needs. It needs people who are fully alive, pursuing what they care about. And I would say it's not a one-off thing, that's a journey. And I would say that I was probably into my 40s before I'd really landed on,
so
this is what I love. So I took lots of time. I enjoyed many of the things that I did, but it hadn't really coalesced into, this is what I love. Until, for quite a while, it took a long time. So I think if people are listening and thinking, I don't know what my passion is, that's okay. That's all right.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Rog. Now we're going to do a giveaway.
Are we?
Giveaway.
What are we giving away?
Well, I'm going to give a prize to the first person who writes in with the answer to the question, at what university did both Roger and Rachel study? I'll make it a nice prize. So email in your answer. Thanks, everyone. You've been listening to Talking Jobs with me, Rachel Bromnick, and our guest today, Dr. Roger Bretherton. Yeah.
Thank you, Rachel.
Bye. Thanks.